Well, Happy New Year, John.
Happy New Year, Federico.
Hi, how are you? We're back.
We're back. It's been a really long time, Federico. It feels like months since we last spoke, and it has been quite a while. It's been weeks at least. I mean, we've been busy celebrating the holidays, taking some time off, all that sort of thing.
Well, I felt like I forgot how to do a podcast.
I know. I somehow I seem to recall there used to be this thing where I would do this introduction where I would tell everybody about, welcome to the show and all that sort of thing. But
When you would say the episode number, which we're going to talk about shortly because it's a big number and it's a big milestone for us. You would thank the sponsors. I think we should thank the sponsors.
Yeah, we should at least do that.
I guess that's what podcasters do.
They do. I mean, if it weren't for our sponsors, we would have a hard time paying the rent. So we should thank Pillow, Fitbod, and HelloFresh.
There you go. That's what podcasters do.
That's what I do. I'm the MC of advertising.
Is that really your title though? Okay, well,
I have a lot of titles at Mac Stories, Federico. I wear many hats, as they say, and I will correct you. I've already got a correction. We're not even to any sort of follow up or anything. I have never told listeners what the episode number is because that just seems like an extra thing I have to think about, and so I've never done that.
Oh, you're actually right. I'm thinking of Connected, where we do share
Yes,
the episode number.
And Steven gets it wrong all the time.
Yeah, he does. On App Stories, we do not. However, we do want to say the episode number this time.
Yes.
It's 200.
Yes.
It's a big number. We've done this. We've been doing this 200 times. Well, 201 if you consider the demo episode that we never shared, I guess.
I know. That's still sitting in Dropbox in our shared folder somewhere, but it's probably pretty bad.
I think it is.
Actually, I can kind of guarantee that it was pretty bad, but we improved over time. So we're here. We're at episode 200. It's hard to believe that it's been, I don't know, when did we start? You came to WWDC for the first time in 2016 and suggested the idea of doing a podcast to me before we left San Francisco, because that was back in the days when it was still in San Francisco. And we spent quite a while planning it and figuring out what we're going to do. And we launched it in the spring of 2017 as I was getting on a plane to go somewhere. I think I was going to Italy. I might have been going to Italy. No, I was going to Ireland. I had just come back from Italy. These were the days when we used to travel a fair amount.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, 2017, we've been doing this, coming into our fourth year of doing App Stories. And obviously, we're very thankful to all the people who shared and subscribed and listened to App Stories, continue to listen to App Stories. We've been fortunate enough to do this with a series of guests that have joined the show over the past few years. And we are extremely grateful, but also very, very optimistic and excited about the future, about the things that we're planning for 2021, both on Mac Stories and on App Stories as well, because we are App Stories is now one of the pillars of our company, of our business, and it's one of the things that we are investing on quite a lot. So we have a lot of things coming, but just one thing that I guess we can share today is that right at the beginning of the show, we thought it would be fun to try something new. And we thought it would be fun, before we get into follow-up, before we get into topics, to have a little segment, to have a little diversion, I guess, from the main topics and talk about what's new, something new that we're doing, to give our listeners an update on new things we're working on, new things we're planning, new things we're researching, anything, maybe new things we wrote about. And John, I know that you have something new to share this week.
I do. For Club Mac Stories, for the return issue of Mac Stories Weekly last Friday, I shared a personal automation. And I dive into shortcuts and personal automation and that sort of thing from time to time. And this one has a Mac twist to it, because while I was kind of emerging from the holiday fog and break time, I was asked by someone on Twitter whether there was a way to set Do Not Disturb on an iPhone and a Mac simultaneously. And I thought about it, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'll just take a look. When you say to yourself, I'll just take a look and see. And then an hour plus later, you find yourself deep into all sorts of different apps and testing out different shortcuts, which is exactly where I went. And it's interesting because it's the kind of thing that seems to me like it should be pretty straightforward. And it's the kind of thing that maybe Apple should connect between the platforms, but they don't. And there's not a simple way to do it. The difficulty really is the bridging of automation on iOS and the Mac. And so I used a combination of a keyboard shortcut on the Mac, Keyboard Maestro, which is probably one of the most powerful automation tools available, to generate an Apple script that then I use an app. It's called Remote Keyboard and Mouse. And it has a Mac helper app that allows you to access various functionalities on your Mac from iOS, and it also works with shortcuts. So I basically created a shortcut on my iPhone that would fire off an Apple script on my Mac, and then turned it into a personal automation. Because with personal automations, one of the triggers is do not disturb. So whenever I turn do not disturb on my iPhone, it automatically does the same for my Mac. So it's a good thing for someone like me who's, getting ready to record a show with you. And instead of kind of thinking, all right, well, I've got my phone, I've got my Mac, I need to get these all on do not disturb until we're finished. Now I just have to tap one button. It's a small thing, but it does streamline a process that seems like it should be something you should be able to connect very easily. So that's what I've been up to.
Very nice. Very nice. That's actually a quite genius approach. Having that kind of utility in the middle and also integrate with Keyboard Maestro. I really like it. Really well done. That's part of the comeback issue of Mac Stories Weekly for Cloud Mac Stories members, right?
Yeah, we had 11 giveaways in that issue too. It's still, as we publish this show, there's still several days to sign up for the giveaways. We've got 11 different health, fitness, and wellness apps that we're doing giveaways on. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Pillow. Getting a good night's sleep is underrated, but with a little help, it can be life-changing. Pillow is an all-in-one sleep tracking solution to help you be more aware of your sleep patterns and discover what might be affecting your sleep quality. It's easy to fall into bad sleep habits, but with Pillow, you can get back on track. If you have an Apple Watch, tracking your sleep is as easy as wearing your Apple Watch to bed. Pillow will track and analyze your sleep automatically. One of Pillow users' favorite features is its ability to generate a detailed heart rate diagram of every sleep session. You can even compare your sleep quality to your weight, steps, caffeine consumption, and many more health metrics to discover how they might be affecting your sleep. Pillow can optionally record sounds you make during sleep too. From sleep talking to sleep apnea and snoring or unexpected noises during the night that might be affecting your sleep, a lot of users are surprised by the results. Pillow is also privacy-minded. All of your sleep and audio data is encrypted and stored on your device and in your iCloud storage account using end-to-end encryption. Pillow doesn't have user accounts, so you can use it anonymously, and it doesn't collect or send your personal data anywhere else. Naps are a great way to boost your focus, creativity, and overall well-being, so if you're working from home, try that feature too. The power nap mode is fantastic. If you need an alarm, Pillow can wake you up using your iPhone, Apple Watch, or iPad. If you have watchOS 6 or newer installed on your Apple Watch, the latest update of Pillow uses the new enhanced runtime to minimize battery consumption on the Apple Watch. Pillow has a new home screen widget that lets you track your latest sleep analysis and daily sleep goals too. Pillow is available on the App Store for the iPhone, Apple Watch, and iPad. Discover Pillow's features at pillow.app. Again, that URL, which I'll have in the show notes too, is pillow.app. Pillow, sleeping better, made simple. Our thanks to Pillow for their support of the show.
All right, before we get into the main topics, you do have some follow-up on your email situation, I believe, John.
Right. I almost forgot about that. So you had told me that what you were doing was forwarding all of your email through your Mac Stories email account. And as a result, then all that email was coming into Hey, and you were managing it in one place that way. And I actually had never really considered doing that. I'm not really sure why. I think it goes back to my days of working in a very corporate environment where all that stuff was kept very strictly apart. And So the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, I've got these three other accounts. I've got like a personal Gmail, an iCloud account, and then like a personal business Gmail account as well. So I thought, well, two of those three, the business and the iCloud, don't have a lot of traffic. I don't use them a lot. So I'll start with those. And I started forwarding them into my Mac Stories account so that I can manage them in Hey. And then after doing that for about 3 weeks, I finally pulled the trigger and sent my Gmail through that as well, my personal Gmail, because that account I've never been able to keep I've never been able to keep under control. It's just been around for so long and has so much junk coming into it. I thought, you know what? I'd like to see what using the screener would do for that flood of information. And would it, I was concerned mainly that it would overwhelm my work email that I really need to see. And so far it hasn't. I mean, I do get a lot more in the screener, and I've only been doing this about a week on this last account. But so far, the screener is such a good tool for keeping junk out without having to do do unsubscribe and all that sort of thing, that I'm finding that I'm actually being alerted to email in that account that I need to see. Because it used to be, I had gotten to the point with that account where I would have to tell people, please don't send me anything to that account because I'll probably never see it. And now I'm actually seeing it. So it's working out pretty well. And I'm glad that I did the forwarding, because at the end of the day, if it didn't work out, I can always undo the forwarding rule. It's not that big a deal.
Very nice. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I've actually been considering setting up a personal Hey account, but then remember just how much I dislike having multiple email accounts. So I'm sticking with the single catch-all sort of email inbox for now.
Yep.
I had that thought because sometimes I don't want to give out my work address, but then again, I still have a personal Gmail account, so I think I'm sticking with my current approach. Like, I have my personal Gmail that is also being forwarded to my main Mac Stories account, and everything else also goes into the same Hey inbox.
Yeah, what I did for that was on my Mac I used Unite 4, which lets you set up your own personal web app, and I did that for my Gmail account, and then I also just keep the Gmail app on my iPhone tucked away, so that if I really don't want to send something to somebody from my Mac Stories account, I can just go in there to send an email. It's not the best solution, but it's not terrible either, because there's really not that many situations where I feel like I have to do that. All right, Federico, let's switch topics and get back to our Workflows Revisited miniseries, because we're going to close that out today. It's been kind of fun talking about this because we've already covered probably the biggest topics. We've covered email, we've covered task management, that sort of thing, and note taking. But today I want to kind of do a grab bag of what's left, because and what might, I guess, change in the future. And one of those is calendars, because I realized not too long ago that my calendar needs really aren't that great. I mean, really, I've got a family calendar and a Mac Stories calendar. And while I've got a few other oddball calendars here and there, those are the two, and I guess we have a shared calendar. Those three are the main ones I have, and that's a pretty manageable number. And I realize I really don't need anything more than Apple's calendar app. I've used calendar apps that allow you to show your reminders and tasks in them, and I really don't like that. It's just too crowded for my taste. And now that I'm using Good Task, which actually can sprinkle my events in amongst my tasks, I like that a lot better, because the way I work is just more task oriented than it is calendar oriented, because we don't have a lot of meetings and that sort of thing. So that works well for me. I can even create new calendar items right there in Good Task. And then to replicate something that I did kind of miss from when I was using Fantastical before, I downloaded Dado, which is an app I recently reviewed. That it's a menu bar app, so that when I'm on my Mac, I can use a global keyboard shortcut, and it pulls down a small mini calendar of the month with a list of my events beneath it. And the app is really customizable. You don't have to show that mini calendar. I like having it there just so I can see the days of the week. And you can have a different number of events below it and different calendars included or excluded. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of what you show. On top of that, it allows you to include time zones. So like you can either have the time zones shown in the drop-down menu that comes down when you trigger the app, or you can put the time zone information directly into the menu bar. And so I've tried both. I've decided I like having time zone information in the calendar drop-down more than in the menu bar itself. But it's a nice way to kind of keep track of time zones for people you work with in other time zones. So I've got you in there at the moment, and my son who's in Ireland and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been that's been kind of my calendar setup. It's pretty simple, but I feel like it's the right size for the needs that I have at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And what do you use for time zones on your iPhone or iPad?
I use calzones.
Okay.
Calzones works for me. I mean, I don't feel like I've got the one time zone that I need to know probably more than any others is yours. And I just have the mental math built into my head now where I can add 7 hours to any time it happens to be in Chicago and got your time zone. So I don't feel like I need to use that like day to day. But when we are trying to coordinate, an interview with somebody or talk to Alex, who recently was in a different time zone than me, that kind of thing, I'll pull out calzones.
Nice. Yeah, I use Word Clock for time zones on the iPhone. It's a simple utility that has a widget in iOS 14.
Oh yeah, that's very good. Yeah,
that's what I use. So for calendars, I actually mentioned this or included this on Mac Stories somewhere a few months ago, I think. I've been using this app called First Seed Calendar. It's a calendar client that is on the iPhone, iPad, and the Mac. I use it on the iPhone and the iPad, mostly on the iPhone because that's where I do like most of my calendaring these days. Basically boils down to somebody tells me, look, we got to record a show or we have a Skype call on this day and I need to, take my iPhone and write it down or move an event. Like very simple and quick interaction. And what I like about First Seed, well, there's two things I like. The first one is it's got this unique month view, this unique monthly calendar view, where you have a monthly calendar at the top. It occupies like 70% of the screen, but the lower 30% is a list of the selected, a list of the events for the selected day. So you select a day in the monthly calendar at the top, and in the lower half of the screen, you see the events for that day. So it's particularly useful for those days when I have like 3 different podcasts to record, and I can select a day and I see all the events in a list at the bottom. So that's really nice. And the second feature I like is, like Fantastical, this application supports calendar sets. So I can have different sets of calendars for, like, for example, multiple podcast-related calendars. So I can see all of my podcast recording at a glance. Or I can mix and match my personal and family calendar so that I can see non-work related obligations, for example, via sets. So that's nice. So multiple view options and calendar sets. And that's what I've been using. I obviously, I'm still using my iCloud calendar. And if you want to, in addition, if you use reminders, in addition to calendar events, you can also see reminders within the same UI if you enable the reminders integration because it fetches those items from the same database.
Do you do that?
Well, I'm still part of the rethinking that I'm doing around many areas of my life in 2021 is which task manager to use, right? And I'm heavily leaning towards sticking with Good Task at the moment, so sticking with reminders. My only my only doubt, it's not a concern, it's a doubt, the fact that we are enjoying using the Amazon Echo so much in our household since the big Alexa comeback from a month ago, basically.
Right.
And we are using it a lot, and feels like we are rediscovering the joys of a smart home assistant that we can actually talk to. And much to my surprise, we are actually also using it in Italian, which is something that I wasn't expecting for a long time. I said, well, I'm gonna talk to my smart home assistant in English no matter what. But it turns out that sometimes it's just natural to say something in my native language. So
Really, for an Italian, come on, really?
yeah, I know, right? So that's my only concern, right? And basically, my question right now is, I like good tasks so much, but I cannot have reminders integration on the Echo. And so right now I'm in the basically observation phase where I'm observing
Yeah.
myself, sort of having this out of body experience where I'm observing myself. Like, am I actually using the Echo to create tasks to say, remind me to do
Right.
this? Because I also have a Todoist account, right? We talked about this in the task manager episode. I really believe that
Yeah.
at the moment, the two best task managers you can use on an iPhone and iPad are Good Task for reminders and Todoist if you want to have a web-based service. It really comes down to those two for me. And
So do you have Siri turned off on your HomePods then? Because I know you didn't get rid of all your HomePods.
oh yeah, big time. Yes. Well, I'm gonna share more details on this for a surprise that I'm gonna lay on you in a few minutes.
All right.
John, you
All
will
right.
understand more in a few minutes.
I'm probing. I'm starting to have an idea of what might be coming, I think.
Okay. No, I don't know.
No, I don't.
But
I
yeah,
don't
so
have any clue. I don't have any clue.
I am heavily leaning toward Good Task also because in this observation phase where I'm trying to see, like, is it just a thing that you say on your shows that you enjoy the Amazon Echo because it's got to do its integration and you can quickly save a task? Like, is it just a feature that you like to say that it exists, or are you in fact using it? And in observing myself, I'm noticing that maybe I like to use the Echo for other things, but for saving tasks, I still prefer using Siri on the Apple Watch, for example. Creating reminders via the Apple Watch and
that
Siri,
makes sense.
it's just so fast and so intuitive, and it works in my car when I'm driving. So
Right.
I'm heavily leaning toward Good Task, and if that's the case, then I think yes, I will probably enable the reminders integration in First Seat Calendar, but I will probably go about it by using a calendar set so that I can have like a main set where it's like everything at once, so both events and reminders, and I can then have separate sets for just calendar events. I think that's the approach that I will follow. So one set where it's like everything on screen at the same time, and then a bunch of calendars, but without reminders.
Well, that seems like a good approach. I really just don't like having reminders in my calendar.
Right.
I've tried it several times, and I also haven't really, as much as I feel like I should use sets, I haven't really ever found myself sticking with it. So I think I've found my very simple solution, and sometimes that's just the best depending on what your preferences are.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Fitbod. Fitbod is the fitness app that provides a personalized exercise plan, a fitness plan that actually fits you. When it comes to fitness, Fitbod believes everyone can be better. Whether you're working out 3 days a week or twice a day, Fitbod's algorithm uses data and analytics to help you build on your previous workout so that your next workout is scientifically proven to be better than the last one. Fitbod has been fine-tuned by certified personal trainers to bring the best practices of strength training right to you. Your workout program is tailored exactly to your needs, making it perfectly suited to your unique body, experience, environment, and goals. It can be hard to know exactly how much you should be doing while exercising, but Fitbod figures that out so that you don't have to worry about over or under training. Fitbod will also mix up muscle groups, exercises, sets, reps, and weight over time to keep you on top form. You don't need to spend hours researching the best exercises or workout strategies to get results. Fitbod does all of that for you. If you're working out at home right now, Fitbod has a bunch of body weight only exercises that are great for indoors or outdoors. But if you're back at the gym, they have tons of great workout options there too. They have everything you're going to need, no matter how much equipment you have access to. Fitbod is there to help you with any exercise routine you need. I love that it's available to me wherever I am with any equipment I have available. this is something that's been super useful to me this year, as what I've had available to me has changed dramatically over the course of the months. Whether you have access to a gym or just some weights or even just resistance bands at home, Fitbod is there to give you the recommendations and workouts that you want. I really like how Fitbod carefully tailors its workouts based on your experience, goals, and the equipment that you have. With just a handful of upfront onboarding questions, you're up and running with a program designed to meet your needs immediately. It's super easy, and the workouts it generates are challenging without being too difficult. On top of all that, there are great videos to guide you when you need them and a terrific Apple Watch app. Fitbod is available on iOS and Android, and you can get started right now by going to fitbod.me/appstories, and you'll get 25% off your membership. Again, that URL is fitbod.me/appstories to try Fitbod for free and get 25% off your Fitbod membership. Our thanks to Fitbod for their support of the show. All right, Federico, we should talk about kind of team communication because, you and I use iMessage an awful lot to communicate throughout the day on Mac Stories stuff. But when it gets beyond just the two of us, it's really, a group chat thread is just not the way to go when you've got things that have to be pulled out for tasks or people have to be able to search and find information again. And we've been using Slack since just after I started writing at Mac Stories in 2015. So it's been 5 years, but we've been rethinking that too.
Yeah, I hinted at this on Connected. I
know you did.
Very much dislike the idea of a company like Salesforce owning Slack. I don't know what it is. Well, I have an idea what it is. I don't know if it's an answer that will satisfy people. It's not a rational answer, maybe. It's just I got a bad feeling out of Salesforce. This idea of like these corporate suits coming in and ruining the service. What used to be the fun and hip and independent service behind our team communication. I don't know. It just feels like they're gonna turn it into something that is boring and corporate and businessy and not, the kind of innovative and fast, quickly iterating kind of company that I like to rely on, that I like to give my money to.
Right.
So
I come at it from a slightly different perspective in that I totally hear you on that. The thing that I feel about Slack though is that I feel like the app has started to stagnate over the last couple of years, where it's not good on the Mac because it's like an Electron app. It has been kind of buggy on iOS, and they've been slow about adopting things like emoji. There are a lot of ways in which it doesn't feel like it's been kept up and been iterated on quickly enough. And I just don't see how a big company coming in is going to make that any better. If anything, I expect it'll make it far worse.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. It's really not good on the Mac. But yeah, so it's the combination of those things had me looking at alternatives. And of course, I started from the most popular one at the moment, which is Microsoft Teams. And I basically came away unimpressed for roughly the same reasons. Like, this is a product made by Microsoft for companies who seem to be really serious about, being businessy and corporate and all that.
Right.
And obviously companies who have bought into the Microsoft ecosystem for services, which we haven't, and we don't plan to. Also because we're a small team and we like to use Apple services, more or less. You could say that. I think we really don't need or want to use Office 365 or Outlook. So I looked into it, and it looked fun and interesting to an extent, but also like it's not what we're looking for. Instead, what we are, I think, exploring, I think would be the correct description right now. We are exploring Discord as an option. So obviously Discord is very popular in the gaming community, in the Twitch community, for example, as a place for gamers and folks who stream content on Twitch to create these communities of this for their audience, essentially. But it's I feel like over the past couple of years, maybe Discord has sort of outgrown that sort of segment of the market, and more people who are not necessarily YouTubers or Twitch streamers or gamers are using Discord for effectively team-based communication, instead of just like, hey, here's a bunch of gamers talking about Call of Duty, And
Right.
what intrigues me about Discord is the fact that it's free, obviously, but also all the integrations and the deep customization that it supports. The API that matches more or less one-to-one what you can do with Slack bots. I believe it's super easy to migrate a Slack bot from Slack to Discord, for example. But all these other integrations, all these other APIs that they have for writing your own plugins and writing your own customizations for your own Discord server, and the fact that it's a young and independent, again, for me personally, it comes down to that: the fact that it's a young independent company, that it's heavily used and it's popular. It's not like we're switching to one of those services that like they have 2,000 users and it may go away, in 2 weeks. You never know with these smaller services, with these smaller companies. Right. And so I will say I have my eye on Discord for 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth backing up too, just to kind of explain like what our use of Slack is. It's pretty light. I mean, I guess compared to a lot of other companies, in the sense that there aren't that many people in our Slack, and we don't have like dozens and dozens of super active channels. For us, it's its benefit is one, that having multiple people, more than just 2 people in a channel, is just easier on Slack, something like Slack or Discord for that matter. And 2, the bots, which have kind of helped us keep track on what everybody is working on and what we're doing. We have all sorts of integrations, and if that's easy to move over, then that's pretty attractive too. I guess one thing you lose with Discord is the ability to have threaded communication. To me, that's in a way an advantage. I don't really like the threads on Slack that much. I find it a little hard to lose track, or not hard. I find it easy to lose track of what a conversation is sometimes, because you've got a main thread and then you've got all these little side threads going on. And I find that once in a while, I just kind of don't realize someone has responded to me because it's in some thread somewhere, and and somehow I missed it.
Yeah. So look right now, I know that people are looking for a definitive answer. Are you going to switch to Discord? And right now, just like with task managers, maybe, like, I don't have a definitive answer, but this is part of the process, right? Of what's next.
Right.
It's not a clear cut decision. It takes weeks of research and testing and experimentation.
It's very early days for us with Discord. I mean, I think we've got like 5 messages in there. We're not actually using it.
We do, and
at the moment. So
we are working on so many things for 2021. And so many things are finally starting to take shape and be actual, working products.
Right.
That we have all these different areas that we need to explore, that we need to make sure they're working. But I wouldn't be here's what I'm going to say. If in 6 months we're not using Slack anymore, but we're using Discord, it shouldn't be a surprise, because this is exactly what we're looking into right now. Both for us and for, potentially maybe in the future, a community. I don't know. But this is part of the things that I'm exploring this year.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh cuts out the stressful meal planning so you can enjoy cooking and getting dinner on the table in about 30 minutes or less. HelloFresh offers more than 23 recipes every week, featuring a range of flavors, cuisines, and ingredients, so you'll never get bored. Cut down on grocery bills and food waste. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned ingredients, so you're not overbuying, which is a burden on the planet and your wallet. I cook most of the dinners at my house, and after months of being stuck at home, cooking really became a chore, especially coming up with something new and different. That's why I turned to HelloFresh. I've tried meal kits from other companies in the past, but none have the variety of HelloFresh. Their deep variety of meals and dishes that appeal to my entire family makes all the difference. I'd encourage you to give it a try too. Just go to hellofresh.com/appstories10. That's the number 10, and use the code appstories10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping. Try HelloFresh today, America's #1 meal kit. Again, that URL is hellofresh.com/appstories10 and the code appstories10. That's the numeral 10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping. Our thanks to HelloFresh for their support of the show.
I just said that I don't have a definitive answer for, many things that we discussed on this episode, but I do have one definitive answer for one surprise that I've been keeping from you.
Oh man, I think I know where this is going. What do you have for me?
So can you tell me the general field of where you think I'm going?
I think you're heading straight to text editors.
Oh, no. Oh, you're
okay.
Way off base. No. Okay, so
we haven't talked for a while. I guess I'm not in sync with you anymore.
Well, I told everyone a few weeks ago that I was doing a lot of, this sort of self-evaluation and thinking,
right,
and sort of trying to understand my habits in terms of like my computing usage and my priorities and things I wanted to try in 2021. And if you know me, you know that I'm the kind of person who never likes to sit on something too long and sort of
you bought a Windows PC, didn't you?
No, you're way off base again. I don't like to grow Nope, I don't like to grow complacent into with the things I use, and I don't like to sort of isolate myself and shut alternatives out. And this is part of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, basically for the past month or month and a half. So here's the thing. It will probably surprise you. Again, let me preface this by saying that I thought about this this is like switching to hay. I thought about this very long. I actually discussed it with Sylvia for many, many weeks.
Okay.
I've decided that I'm going to use Spotify for a year instead of Apple Music.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Okay. So let me explain why. First of all, I think it's really important to know your options in the world, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I've been using Apple Music as my one and only streaming service since 2016 or 2017. I believe, 2017. So for the past 4 years, I haven't used anything else, just Apple Music. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's important for me to know what else is going on out there. And I don't know how I came, like I don't think there was a single moment. It was a combination of things. One of them was Spotify is obviously not going away anytime soon.
Right. And you got an Echo, right? Echo is probably part of this. I got an
Echo. But it wasn't, it actually wasn't like, I didn't start using Spotify because I got an Echo. It sort of happened together as part of this, like, how am I using technology? What do I want out of technology? So the fact that I think it's important, first of all, I think it's important for me to, take a peek outside and see what other services are like. Then there was yes, as you mentioned, the Echo, right? It's obviously you can use Apple Music, you can use Amazon Music on the Echo, but
sure.
Spotify, I think in many ways, like the different playlists and the different things that you can ask, I think it works better than Apple Music. But another important realization was Spotify is becoming, like it or not, it's becoming a big player in the music and podcasting space. And I think I'm still against the idea of music and podcasts living together. And I'm against the idea of a closed podcast ecosystem. However, at the same time, like I'm not an idiot, this is happening, right? And people are listening to podcasts on Spotify. And there's Spotify exclusives that are actually pretty good. And like, even though I don't like it, I feel like it's important for me to know what's out there. And what better way to know than to actually try and use it? So that was part
You
of it.
should try. You should try out App Stories on Spotify. We've
I
been on there
did.
for like 18 months or so.
I did. I actually did.
Okay.
And then it was, I think, another driver for this was I noticed how Apple Music was essentially offering no discovery for me whatsoever. And my only discovery became, obviously, our app of the year, Music Harbor. I wasn't really taking advantage. I wasn't listening to the favorites mix or new release mix on Apple Music anymore. I wasn't using the Listen Now page. I actually find it kind of clunky with all these big tiles, and like I was like in thinking about it, in realizing, am I actually taking advantage of discovery on Apple Music right now? And I started asking myself these questions. What do I like about Apple Music? And what I like about Apple Music, of course, is the integration with the Apple ecosystem, the design, which I think is so superior to Spotify, especially on iPad. The Spotify app on iPad is ridiculous. It's so bad. What I also like about Apple Music, of course, is Siri integration. But then again, if I'm using an Echo now, is that so important? But the one single feature that I think I'm going to miss from Apple Music so much for the next 12 months is real-time lyrics. That is the single feature that I'm absolutely going to miss from Apple Music. And I'm shocked that Spotify doesn't have it. And so I'm trying to come up with different shortcuts for sort of opening lyrics more quickly. But man, I'm going to miss those real-time lyrics on Apple Music.
Well, at least according to Apple's news release earlier last week, they have significantly added to their real-time lyrics over the course of 2020. So there's a lot more there than there was before. It's interesting to me. My sense is, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, is that you don't listen to a lot of the curated playlists on Apple Music. Things like, I don't know, like Control Alt, for instance, or new alternative or whatever it is. And that, I think, to me, that's where, when you're on Apple Music, where the discovery really happens, at least for me, outside of something like Music Harbor, is in playlists like that, where there are a handful of go-to playlists like Breaking Alternative or Control Alt that I'll listen to, and Apple updates them, those big ones, every week or so. And there's usually only 3 or 4 new songs on it. But it is a way to kind of broaden my base of music during the course of the year. And maybe that's got to be surfaced in better ways, because there's obviously people listen to music in different ways. And obviously that's not the way you do.
And I think you nailed exactly my problem, which is when I listen to music, I either want to, like I am thinking of, what music do I want to listen to? And so I use search a lot. And I really want to have a fast and functional search feature. And Spotify search is so much faster than Apple Music. Again, it's kind of ridiculous.
Really?
You type, yes, it really is. It really is that much faster.
Because the search is a lot better on Apple Music after iOS 14.
Yes, it is, but it's not as fast as Spotify still. Like Spotify, you do actually get results as you type. It's super fast. So I either search, or I want as little friction as possible in automated, like sort of intelligent suggestions tailored specifically for my taste, right? So I either want to go manual mode, or I'm going to trust the service, but you better be so intelligent and you need to surprise me, right? There's this spectrum for me. And now, what I'm seeing right now is that, so I switched to Spotify, gave it a couple of weeks, right? Because I had an old account. You gotta basically sort of start the engine again and let it know you again after a few years. But now, like especially over the past 2 weeks, the Discover Weekly, the Release Radar playlist, and the daily mixes that I have are so like actually perfectly in tune with my current tastes. It's kind of scary how accurate they are. And I can tell you this because it's good when in the Release Radar playlist you see the same new releases as you do on Music Harbor. Like I opened Music Harbor
Yeah,
and I realized,
right.
oh, there's a new Kings of Leon song out today. I opened the release radar on Spotify and it was the number 2 song. I was like, oh, well, yeah, it's like that feeling of surprise. And the same for Discover Weekly. Like I'm discovering new and unknown bands again. I'm not necessarily, opening Music Harbor and seeing, oh, there's a new song from this band that I already knew before. And like the release radar, so much more accurate than the new music mix on Apple Music. But the daily mix is also like the daily mixes, which there's I believe 6 of them. Spotify is clever enough to not only split them into different genres. So you got, the alternative rock with, in my case, Oasis, Placebo, Noel Gallagher, and then you have the sort of modern pop with Taylor Swift and The Weeknd. It also splits them based on language. And so I have 5 mixes for English music and 1 for Italian music, which, as we talked about before, is something that I've gotten into again. So I got the daily mix 4, the number 4, is all about Italian artists, which is, again, something that Apple Music just cannot do for me. Right. And there's also something that I really like is called the Time Capsule, which is a playlist that they describe it as like songs that take you back in time. And it's pretty accurate because it's like song that I like from years back.
Right.
So the suggestions are great. There's so many things about the Spotify app that I don't like. On the iPad, the sidebar, it's not a native one.
Right.
It's missing real-time lyrics. It doesn't support keyboard shortcuts. It doesn't support actual shortcuts in the Shortcuts app. Like so many things that I'm missing from Apple Music. But the core experience is amazing. And the 2 final things I want to mention.
Okay.
One, which I really hope that Apple eventually steals from Spotify. When Spotify detects that you're connected to your car's Bluetooth, it switches the Now Playing interface to a car-friendly UI. With it's a super simplified Now Playing screen with giant buttons and a single button to pick the playlist or album you want to listen to. It's like this.
That is nice.
Dumbed down UI to make sure that you really hit those touch targets when you're driving.
Right, because not everybody has CarPlay.
Exactly, and I don't. So that's really convenient. And the second one, if you have Amazon Echoes in your household, you can connect to them with one tap from the device's screen of Spotify. And it bypasses AirPlay, right? So that even if you open Spotify on the Mac, for example, but you're streaming something in the kitchen, you can control that playback from your Mac and vice versa. So it's a web-based communication between speakers and Spotify that it's different from AirPlay. This also means that I can start streaming something to Spotify from my iPhone, but then I can open, Twitter and I can watch a video, I can do something else, and it doesn't take over music, right? Because it's a separate connection. So, this was I've decided that I'm going to use this for a year. I'm going to see how it goes. Obviously, I'm going to test Apple Music in iOS 15. So, and I think this will be good for me. I think this will be useful for me because it'll give me a fresh perspective on how to approach Apple Music. Maybe in 3 months' time, I will miss Apple Music so much that I will, come back and say, look, I tried. But I think it's important for me to keep that kind of perspective, especially in 2021. It's this year of, in many ways, new beginnings. And, really, all around the world, new beginnings.
Yeah,
all
it really
kinds.
is.
and I think it's important to do this kind of experiment. So, yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. You're going to be missed on Apple Music, Federico.
Don't worry about it because I'm still going to share my playlists in both places.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not planning. I think that is a good experiment to run. And I think one of the things maybe you're hitting on too is that I think Apple's discovery is more playlist based than it is album based. And I know you're very much a person who likes to listen to albums, especially. So, maybe Spotify is the way to go for that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about discovering new music again. We're gonna talk about Spotify again in the future. Maybe we should do an episode about all the things that I'm discovering in Spotify again. Also, the podcast feature, I'm intrigued by, especially the podcast originals. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but basically, I kept this from everyone. Maybe a couple of people noticed on Twitter because I shared screenshots with the Spotify app on my iPhone.
Well, I saw that you shared your best of 2020 using both,
in both places,
Apple Music and Spotify,
yeah.
and I thought you just probably used Song Shift or something for that.
No. Oh, and also one additional semi-related surprise, I guess.
Okay.
I recently purchased, and again, we're probably going to do an episode, but this is, what's next. So this is a teaser of what's next.
Right.
I recently purchased an external USB DAC for my iPhone to use my good Sony headphones with the iPhone without having to use the Walkman. I do have a Walkman that has a DAC mode, but you got to enter manual USB DAC mode. It's kind of a chore.
Right.
And so I recently purchased it's called the FIO Q5S. It's FIIO Q5S. It's an external USB DAC. And I have been using, for when I want to, there's this weird stage in between I want to listen to something on a streaming service and I need to make a decision as to whether I want to purchase the album in high resolution or not. So for those sort of testing moments, I've been using Amazon Music HD. Amazon Music HD has has an unlimited lossless tier. It's free for 3 months, so I signed up and I have until March to decide. But basically, I've been using it as a testing ground for new albums that I want to add and actually go out and purchase. Those are not cheap. It's like $25 or $30 a pop. You know,
right.
So it's as sort of a testing ground for new. It adds up quickly. And I've been using it sort of a way to let me listen to this album in Amazon Music HD with my external DAC and my Sony headphones connected to my iPhone. It's a streaming service, but it gives me really good quality. And then if I like it, I can go out and purchase it on HD Tracks and all these different websites. So I've also been using that. Obviously, it's not my main music streaming service. It's just the place where I go before I make a decision as to whether I want to purchase an album in high resolution.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that Apple hasn't done high resolution audio at this point?
So
with
surprising.
all their emphasis on both music and services in general, and revenue growth and bundles. I mean, it just seems like it's made for the premium bundle. But and I would certainly check it out. I would certainly use it. I don't know if I'd stick with it, but I would check it out, especially now that I've got the AirPods Max. Right? I mean, it goes with that too. They've got a hardware solution and the original HomePod.
Yeah.
All right, Federico. Well, that's quite a surprise. You definitely surprised me. I'm really intrigued to see what you come up with during the course of the year, because I do dip back into Spotify once in a while. I've still got a free account over there, but it's mostly when some big feature has come out and I'm just kind of checking it out for something we might be writing up on the site. And I haven't really lived in Spotify for any period of time for quite a long time now. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes for you. I should thank our 3 sponsors again for this episode. That is Pillow, Fitbod, and HelloFresh. Of course, you can find me and Federico writing over at macstories.net all the time. Federico is at Viticci on Twitter and Instagram. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.